Hey guys, what is up? Today we're talking about 10 things that every filmmaker needs that cost under $20. So a lot of times we all focus on the very expensive things that we need, like the cameras, the lenses, the microphones, all that good stuff. People tend to forget about the little objects, like the little things you keep in your bag that you need as a filmmaker. It's holiday season. I know a lot of people are looking for some gifts for filmmakers, so these are great little gifts, little stocking stuffers that every filmmaker does need. So if you got friends that are filmmakers, if you're a filmmaker, these are great gifts to give, as well as they're just good things that you should know about to keep in your bag when you're out shooting content. Personally, I keep all these objects on me all the time, whether I'm traveling and shooting or whether I'm in like a studio here in LA shooting. I have these either in my camera case or I have in my camera backpack or something. Some of these will kind of seem obvious or mundane, but a lot of people forget it. And I've seen this happen on set a lot. I've seen it happen when I'm traveling. There's certain little objects that people are just like, oh, I wish I had that. Or like, they'll see that I have something in my bag and they'll be like, oh, that's a great idea. So I put together a list of 10 things. Guys, I hope this helps you. So let's just get right into it. All right, so the first couple things I'm going to talk about are cleaning objects, because as soon as your lens gets dirty, you're screwed. Like, unless you have something to clean it with. Like, you don't want to be using your shirt because you don't know what your shirt has. And then you're wiping your lens, like it's not a good idea. So the first thing is get some lens wipes. Whether that's like the microfiber cloth wipes, those are super cheap and you can put them anywhere. I have a ton of them. I have them in my pockets. I have them in my camera bag. I have new ones. And I trash them all the time because I always want to keep a nice microfiber cloth on me. Also, something that I've really liked using and something that's great are these Zeiss lens wipes, and they come pre-packaged as single wipes and they're great for lenses. They have a little bit of solution on it, so if you have like a bigger smudge or something that's harder to get off, you can use it, and then in conjunction with the microfiber cloth, you'll get your lens spotless. All right, number 2 is sensor cleaner. So I know you don't want to touch your sensor, but what happens if something actually gets on your sensor when you're out shooting? You're switching lenses, you're going from your 50 to your 25 to your zoom, etc., etc. What if something happens and you accidentally put your thumb in there and you touch it? Well, now you have a smudge, and now you've screwed up all your shots for the rest of the day until you can get that sensor cleaned. So what I like to have are these little sensor cleaning brush things. They're really cheap, but what they do is they're basically the exact same size as your sensor in terms of width, and you can just rub them straight across. So if there is something like a smudge, you can get it off pretty easily versus trying to find some way to get your microfiber cloth in there and clean it off. These are made so they're very simple, so you just do one swipe across and then it's clean, because you don't want to be rubbing over and over in your sensor. As soon as that is scratched, then you're pretty screwed. Okay, and with these two, the third cleaning object that I say you need to have is an air blower. And what this does is it just allows you to blow off any dust, because you don't want to rub your lens, you don't want to rub your sensor if there's any hard dust, sand, or any sort of grit on there. So the air blower is key. I use it all the time, especially when I'm traveling. Places we go, a lot of times they're dirty, they're sandy, there's just stuff flying around the air. So I'll have my air blower on me, I'll blow off the lens, I'll blow off everything around the lens before I change the lens, because as soon as you open it up, you're opening up your sensor to outside elements. You want to blow out your sensor all the time. I mean, when you see those little dots in the sky and you're shooting, it's the worst thing in the world, especially when you get home and you're doing an edit and you're like, oh, there's something on my sensor. I hate that. It is the absolute worst. After a few times of doing that, I made sure I always have a blower on me and these cleaning wipes and all this stuff, because I always want to make sure that I'm getting the best image possible and that I'm not degrading it because there's something on the lens or on the sensor. All right, so the next one is something that I personally love doing, and that is I get these little tiny bags and I keep a bunch of these around, because these little bags will help me organize my stuff. So whether I want to put my camera batteries in one bag, my sensor cleaning and lens cleaning stuff in another bag, I get these little tiny bags and I just basically organize my entire kit. So instead of having just everything in my camera case or everything in my backpack kind of free floating around, I'll organize them in these different bags. Then I'll know just to grab one of these if I need my sensor cleaning stuff, or one of these if I need batteries. I like to get different bags so that they're easily identifiable and that I can grab different ones for what each thing is. So if I got all black bags, for example, I wouldn't be able to grab them as easily, but if you have a different color for each thing, or you have a bunch of different bags, it's going to make make your life so much easier. All right, so this one is for more of the people that like to shoot handheld. So if you're like holding the camera, if you're like traveling around, I use this all the time. It's a cool little thing. It's a wrist strap. So it basically goes around your wrist and it connects to your camera. And basically what that allows you to do is be able to do your handheld, walking around, doing all that good stuff. But if you slip, if the camera comes out of your hand, it's basically just a safety so that it catches it instead of falling to the ground. And so instead of having like a neck strap or something else like that, the wrist strap is great because it comes easily on and off, and if you need to take it off real quick, you can, but also it always has that protection. So when you're walking around holding the camera, which I know a lot of you do, I do it all the time, especially when I'm shooting travel stuff, it just gives you a level of safety. And then on top of that, if you are traveling somewhere that's not as safe for gear, if someone tries to steal the camera out of your hand, so it provides a level of safety in a bunch of different areas. All right, so the sun just came out. You see that? All right, so the next one is a water bottle. You should always have a water bottle on you, and you should always have it full of water, because as a filmmaker, you're always moving, you're always thinking, and one of the things that a lot of us forget is to hydrate. When you start getting dehydrated, that's when you're gonna start crashing on set or wherever it is that you're shooting. If you always have water, it's just something that you should always be thinking about, and like have a water bottle near you. We're working hard as filmmakers, sometimes we're running around doing crazy stuff, and the last thing we're thinking about is something like water. So I always have a water bottle on me. It's always in my bag, it's always on my backpack. It's a very important thing that I think a lot of people overlook. All right, and with that water bottle, I have snacks. You might think that's obvious, I should have, a snack with me if I'm gonna be shooting all day, but a lot of people don't think about that. So we'll get, 6 hours into a shoot, we're not having lunch yet because things are just moving, and for example, for like traveling, we don't know what time we're gonna be eating. Having something in your bag, having something in your camera case is kind of key to just keep you going as a filmmaker. So I always have some like Cliff Bars or something else in my bag. If the shoot is running long, if we're moving slower, if there's something going on and I start getting starving, I'll just grab that, eat it, keep going, because I want to maintain my focus as a filmmaker to get the best images possible, the best content I can. And if you're hungry, if you're thirsty, those are two things that immediately are going to degrade you as a filmmaker. You're going to start getting slower, you're going to stop thinking straight, and that's where problems start coming out. All right, the next one is something I use all the time, and that is gaff tape. So a roll of gaff tape is around $20, and gaff tape is very important because it's different than other kinds of tape. Gaff tape is a cloth tape. It's the standard across every film set. Any film set you go on, there's gonna be rolls of gaff tape everywhere. And the reason is it's strong, but it also doesn't leave things like residue on whatever it is that you're putting it on. When you're a filmmaker, you're always using tape for different reasons. You're sticking, things to the wall, or you're taping a cable down. And if you're using like a duct tape, you're gonna leave residue, and then the person that you're renting the studio from, the person that you're renting the house from, anywhere you go they're gonna be super pissed that there's residue left everywhere. So what I like to do is have small rolls of gaff tape with me everywhere I go. It's in my bag. Especially when I'm traveling, I'll take a pen and I'll roll different colors of gaff tape around the pen. So I always have a decent sized strip on the pen. So now I have a pen with gaff tape. So if I need a white or a black, I could just pull off the tape and keep going, because there's always a situation where like I need to tape something small. It happens all the time. If you just have tape on you, you'll find a use for it, trust me. All right, the next one is great because you don't need it all the time, but trust me, there are situations where I'm so glad I put that in my bag, and that's a headlamp. A headlamp is great because you don't know when there's gonna be a situation where your shoot's gonna run long, it's gonna get dark, and then you're trying to pack up your gear and you don't have any sort of light source. Also, if you get into like a building, say something happens and the lights go out, or there's just no power in the building in general, there's always gonna be a situation where a headlamp is useful to see in those places that are dark. And even if it's just like it's dim lighting and you're trying to look in your bag or your case and you can't find the lens or something that you're looking for, the headlamp's perfect because it's small, you can keep it in your pocket, you can keep it in your bag. You know that any situation that you get into, you're always gonna have a light for your kit. And that's one of the most important things. Or if you're, out in the woods shooting and it gets dark and you gotta get back to the car, you're not stuck without light. I've seen it happen all the time where people just don't have a light, and then they're asking different people on set for lights. They're asking, can I get a courtesy light over here? Just make it easy on yourself, have a headlamp, and then you can take care of the things that you need to take care of in your bag. All right, so the last one, and this is something I use all the time, and that is a mini tripod. So like one of those Jovies, or I have this little thing that's under $20, and I putting my camera on this all the time for different interesting weird shots. There's a lot of times where like you don't necessarily want to pull out your big tripod, you just want to set the camera down, but you want to make sure it's stable, it's level, things like that. And that's where like a little tiny tripod comes in, because it gives you the ability to put your camera in different spots but not have to like rig it up in some crazy way. As a vlogger, I also use this all the time to obviously hold the camera, but then there's a lot of situations where I just want to set down the camera, but I want to point it up slightly to get a cool shot for like a time lapse or something like that. Even on my bigger shoots, like where I'm, you know, have a full crew, tripods, jibs, this, that, you know, like the big shoots that we do, I always end up finding a use for a mini tripod. I might screw it on the camera, and just to get like a shot over here, I'll be like, oh, I got this little tripod, I'll stick it on the ground. It's kind of like having a hi-hat. So if you understand bigger productions, a hi-hat is one of those things that you don't always use, but is very handy when you do need it, like when you need to go low shot. So I always like to have a hi-hat on set for the big shoots, bigger cameras. But if we're shooting on, you know, smaller cameras like the GH5 or anything like that, I'm gonna have one of these just little mini tripods, because screw, stick it down, and you're good to go. All right, guys, and that is my 10 things that every filmmaker needs. So guys, I hope you have a fantastic shoot on your next shoot, whatever it is that you are shooting. If you haven't already, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Guys, this was part of my 31 days of camera filmmaker tutorials. All of December, every day I've been putting out a tutorial. So if you haven't checked those out, make sure you go back to the beginning, start with the first one, work your way through. It's a ton of content, a ton of good information. And I think after these 31 days, you guys will learn a lot. Guys, if you haven't already, make sure you go over to Instagram, follow us at Wanderworks, see where we're at in the world, see where we're traveling. And guys, I will see you on the next one.